no greater teaching way for the Civil War than in this musical. Because in the musical you get all the numbers, you get all the facts, you get all the statistics. In the tapestry of America, especially in relation to the Civil War, the stories really are told by, the people themselves. So you're a 16-year-old nurse and you have to take care of all these kids. And, in those days in the Civil War, if you were shot in the stomach, you were going to die. That's number one. And if you were shot in one of your limbs, those limbs were coming off. So, for instance, we took the diaries of many young nurses, and we wrote a song because it was based on a nurse called Hannah Robes, where she said, if I know the names of these kids that I have to take care of during the day, I will become too close with them and I won't be able to do my job. So we wrote a song called I Never Knew His Name, which is really based on her writings.
I've seen his kind before, rising to his fall. God, he was so young, like a song half sung, interrupted by someone just as shy, who never knew his name.
We took a guy, his name was Sullivan Ballou, and he had a sweetheart named Sarah. And he got shot in the stomach and he was going to die. And before he died, as everyone had in the Civil War, they all had pen and paper or pencil, because they knew when they got shot in the stomach they were going to die, but it was going to take a while. So they would take out their writing material and they would write home, and they would write their sweetheart or their kids or their parents or their wife. And he wrote this thing to his sweetheart named Sarah, and we wrote the song Sarah.
Oh, Sarah, my Sarah, I will whisper your name. My thoughts all will run home to you. My heart is the candle, and your heart the flame that burns with a fire so new.
So Civil War has stuff that is just so special, and at the same time teaches us history in a way that only that individual story can teach us. When we first did Civil War, there were no costumes, and the band was on stage, and we really tried to do it as honest as we can. When it came to Broadway, for better or for worse, it became a, quote, Broadway show. So costumes went on. The band was now taken off the stage. All of a sudden there were guns, and then there were fake fighting and things like that. That's not what the Civil War was about. The Civil War was about the people. The Civil War was about these are the people, and whether they were free or slaves, whether they were from the North or South, whether they were the young soldier leaving his wife to go fight, probably never to come home, or that young wife home with 3 kids, what am I going to do? It was about the people, and it was also about the gods, the generals, Mr. Lincoln, Mr. Douglas, and their decisions, and how that trickles down and affects us all. Civil War is really where American music started. People don't realize that. And what I mean by that was Civil War was the first time in the history of America where young people traveled. People don't remember that or realize that, and that's a historical fact. Usually before the Civil War, they would say whatever you saw outside your second-story window was basically the world that you lived in. The Civil War was the first time where people from the North traveled to the South and vice versa, where the intermingling of all the different cultures and the races all kind of had to happen, and it did happen. And in so doing that, there was a collision of music from Europe and music that was from the Mississippi, music from the African Americans, from the slaves, and it all kind of came together. And out of the Civil War came American music. The Civil War can be interpreted so many ways by the teachers, by the directors or producers, whoever is doing the show at a school or a theater. I think there's so much leeway because you can do it without costumes, you could do it with costumes. You don't need a big band to do it. It is so interchangeable as far as the cast. The same people that play the North can also play the South. If you have the freedom to have a bigger cast, you can separate them. There's just so much richness and so much in the material to go play with that I think the Civil War is just such a great show to do.